elevated when I get to the penthouse. On top of the mountain, I feel like I'm Moses. In spiritual science, you know I'm devoted. I'm pulling your rank, you got the motive. I just want the money, I don't want the fame. It's you and I, so you know my name. Alright, welcome back to Mental Gymnastics. I am your host, Professor Zeus. And on today's episode, we're looking at a lot of interesting stuff, to say the least. It was recently brought to my attention that James O'Keefe with the O'Keefe Media Group, he's, an independent journalist, independent media, who likes to, expose truth within plain sight. He likes to set up, kind of dates or whatnot with people who are in high places, and kind of egg them on to see what's really going on in society. So in this situation, James O'Keefe, he exposes BlackRock. And if you aren't familiar with BlackRock is a multi-million-dollar investment company that invests in almost every company that you can think of. Think about how certain companies can have such such a large amount of wealth that they can literally have shares within different companies, so much so that this power and influence can actually make them, influence power, influence politics, and influence politicians. So what we're going to look at today, we're going to look at James O'Keefe's video, where he has kind of like an undercover journalist speaking with a recruiter from BlackRock. And this recruiter doesn't know what's happening, but he actually exposes a lot of what BlackRock does and what they're about. So let me just show you guys this real quick, and then we'll discuss it as it goes on. Okay.
You're kind of like a fucking gatekeeper at BlackRock.
Yeah, I am. I decide people's fates. Every fucking day, I literally decide how somebody's life is going to be shaped.
That's so powerful. I love it.
Yeah, it's the whole thing of like domination from a concept is it's so interesting.
Introducing Serge Varley, whose LinkedIn says he's worked for Morgan Stanley, Citadel, and now as a recruiter at BlackRock.
I work for a company called BlackRock. I'm not actually a finance guy. I know what happens because I'm recruiting people who do these things. Mm-hmm. I'm the person who headhunts people from other firms. So I would approach you and be like, hey, this is a good reason why you should come work for us.
Serge tells us who really runs the world, how they do it, and just how much it costs to buy people. Like politicians.
I've always said, let me rephrase that. I haven't always said, but as I've, learned more and more about different things, I've realized that, everything has a price. Everybody, doesn't matter who it is, politicians, whatever you want, everybody has a price that they're willing to accept certain things. So in this video, the recruiter, Sergey, he's about to go into detail about that. It's really crazy.
Let me tell you, it's not through who's the president. It's who's controlling the wallet. So it's
And who's that?
the hedge funds, BlackRock, the banks. These guys want campaign financing. Yep, you can buy.
See, and this is what I talk about, right? I always tell people, stop being so caught up on the politician themselves. Look at the person who's donating to their campaigns. I mentioned it before. George Soros is the major campaign donor to the Democratic Party. And Sheldon Adelson and the Adelson family is the major donor for the Republican Party. It's not about left. It's not about right. It's not about Democrat or Republican. It's about who has money and which person is going to do things for me because I'm donating to their campaign to get them elected in office. What can you do for me? Are you going to be on my team? That's what these guys care about.
So,
All of these financial institutions, they buy politicians.
how do they run the world?
You acquire stuff. You diversify, you acquire, you keep acquiring, you spend whatever you make in acquiring more. And at a certain point, your risk level is super low. Like, imagine you've invested in.
And before he goes on, right? If you want to just take out the corruption from politics, you got to take out the money from politics. Because what he's about to talk about right now, going back to BlackRock, diversification. If you own major shares in major companies, then you have something called voting power, which is the ability to enact certain policies or change within the company because you are on the, board of directors or what have you, but you have voting power. And actually, the BlackRock CEO, there was just a video that resurfaced from 2017 where they said that they are actually in the business of forcing behaviors. And this isn't me like saying anything. This is really documented. Look, check this out. This is really documented. BlackRock CEO slammed for forced behaviors comment after 2017 interview reemerges about DEI initiatives. And if you guys don't know what DEI is, in my last video I spoke about like ESG, which is the environment, social, and governance. DEI is diversity, equity, and inclusion. BlackRock CEO admitted if you don't force behaviors, you're going to be impacted. So if you don't force behaviors within your own company, you won't get funding from these major investment companies to do more things. So say I'm BlackRock, right? I have a major share of your company. If you don't move to the tune of my flute or whatever, I won't give you funding. I won't give you funding in order to allow you to make more money. Listen to him say it.
Behaviors are going to have to change, and this is one thing we're asking companies. You have to force behaviors, and at BlackRock we are forcing behaviors. What we are doing internally is, if you don't achieve these levels of impact, your compensation could be impacted. Okay, you have to force behaviors, and if you don't force behaviors, whether it's gender or race or just any way you want to say the composition of your team, you're going to be impacted.
Gender, race, these are all factors to what people, attribute with woke ideology and different things like that. But he literally said, this is the CEO of BlackRock, a multi-million-dollar investment company, said that if companies do not force behaviors within their company, they should expect less funding within certain things that they're doing. You can't have influence if you don't have money. Like I said before, everybody got a price that they're willing to give anything and everything up for. Let's read real quick. Larry Fink, CEO of investment firm BlackRock, is facing backlash over a 2017 comment admitting his company would force behaviors on inclusion efforts amid a rise in pushback against companies making environmental, social, and corporate governance (ESG) investments on behalf of everyday Americans. While sitting alongside former Amex CEO Kenneth Chenault in a resurfaced 2017 New York Times interview, Fink revealed BlackRock would force behaviors on gender or race and threatened impacts to compensation if diversity, equity, and inclusion standards weren't met. Behaviors are going to have to change, and this is one thing we're asking companies. You have to force behaviors, and at BlackRock, we are forcing behaviors. Who do you guys really think runs the world? Because it's not politicians. It's the people who are donating to these politicians' campaigns. Always look at the donors. Who is the major donor? The politician is nobody but a face they're literally nobody. They're willing. They're shaking ass. They're literally shaking ass. They're looking for the highest bidder who can pay the highest ticket, and whoever can pay the highest ticket, they're willing to do whatever on their behalf. Let's go back to the other video, because it's just to show you guys that this is real deal life, real deal reality. Okay?
Industries from food to drinks to like technology, right? One of them fails, it doesn't matter. You have 9 others to back you up. Risk management is inherently in just about everything, and in the finance space, it's all about it's all about the money you make. You don't let it sit. You keep using it over and over, and
Reinvest.
Yeah, and then exponential growth.
And then once you just own a little bit of everything, is that where the control?
Yeah, you own a little bit of everything, and that little bit of everything gives you so much money on a yearly basis.
And it's like, you hear this and it sounds so crazy, it sounds so revolutionary, but it's really common sense. You put someone as the face, they're not the one pulling the strings. But it's like, you hear this and it sounds so crazy, but you literally have someone who's actively a part of that process telling you what it is. Let's keep watching.
You can take this big ton of money, and then you can start to buy people. Obviously, we have the system in place. First, there's the Senate space, and these guys are cheap. You got 10 grand, you can buy a Senate. It doesn't matter who wins.
You're still right.
They're in my pocket at this point. I can give you 500K right now, no questions asked.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do what needs to be done. They're like, yeah, of course.
It's who you can buy and what they can do for you guys.
And
Why not?
does like everybody do that? Does BlackRock do that?
The BlackRock Recruiter also tells us about how the U.S. government relies on BlackRock for their economic simulation computational power.
Economic simulation. They need to understand the impact of something, right? They're gonna like raise the interest rate, for example. It's gonna create this cascade of various factors that people they're not sure what it's gonna do, basically.
And just how fucking great the Ukraine war is for business.
Do you have any thoughts on the Ukraine-Russia war?
Ukraine is good for business. You know, right? We don't want the conflict to end.
Why?
We don't want the conflict to end. We don't want the conflict to end in Ukraine because it's good for business. Anytime I post certain stuff on Instagram, y'all think I'm just posting it because it's like, oh, whatever, Zeus is just posting crazy stuff. There's a method to the madness. This man, who's a recruiter from BlackRock, who recruits other people from different investment firms to come work at BlackRock, is saying out of his mouth, the Ukraine-Russia war is good for business. How many companies do you think are benefiting from this war in Ukraine? Let's really think about it. How many people do you think are benefiting from this war in Ukraine? It's a lot of companies. It's a lot of businesses. You have to think about, when the infrastructure of Ukraine is crashing down, which U.S. company is going to come and, help rebuild? Let me see if I can find an article about that, about which company would actually help Ukraine rebuild in this time of, peril. Look at this. Look at this. BlackRock and JPMorgan helped set up Ukraine Reconstruction Bank. The fund aims to attract billions of dollars in private investment to assist rebuilding projects in war-torn country. BlackRock and JPMorgan Chase are helping the Ukrainian government set up a reconstruction bank to steer public seed capital into rebuilding projects that can attract hundreds of billions of dollars in private investment. The Ukraine Development Fund remains in the planning stages and is not expected to fully launch until the end of hostilities with Russia. But investors will have a preview this week at a London conference co-hosted by the British and Ukrainian governments. So we have a recruiter within an investment company who's telling you that the Ukraine-Russia war is good for business. Let's see what else he says.
Conflict in as a country. The longer this goes on, the weaker Russia is. I'll give an example. Russia blows up Ukraine's grain surplus. The price of wheat's gonna go mad up. So what are you gonna do if you're a trading firm? The moment that news hits, within a millisecond, you're gonna pump trades into whoever the wheat suppliers are, into their stocks. Within an hour or two, that stock goes up, and then you sell, and you just made, I don't know, however many mil.
Why would a news channel promote a
Okay, so you heard him. He talked about wheat and stuff like that, right? Let's actually look at the price of wheat. So if we, let me see, share this. So if we look right here, the Chicago SWR wheat futures. So it said that wheat was trading gradually lower, but right here, when the Ukraine-Russia conflict was really turning up, we have it go from 804 to, what's that up there? About 1,200 plus, almost like overnight. Who do you think made profit right here? This move right here. Who do you think makes profit on this move? And then the people who made profit, they sold, and here it goes back to wheat. Who do you think is making profit? Now, going back, let me go back here. It was also brought to my attention today that the Pentagon actually made a $6.2 billion accounting error when it comes to I guess Ukrainian arms. Let me see. We got the video. Yeah, we got the video. So okay, check this out.
Announce oversight of our execution of presidential drawdown authority for Ukraine, we discovered inconsistencies in equipment valuation for Ukraine. In a significant number of cases, services used replacement costs rather than net book value, thereby overestimating the value of the equipment drawn down from U.S. stocks and provided to Ukraine. Once we discovered this misvaluation, the comptroller reissued guidance on March 31st, clarifying how to value equipment in line with the financial management regulation and DoD policy to ensure we use the most accurate of accounting methods. We have confirmed that for FY23, the final calculation is $3.6 billion, and for FY22, it is $2.6 billion, for a combined total of $6.2 billion. These valuation errors in no way limit or restricted the size of any of our PDAs or impacted the provision of support to Ukraine. And while the DoD...
So we have the Pentagon making drastic accounting errors. Do you know what it means to have a $6.2 billion accounting error? Maybe you, myself, will probably never come across that type of money. Who knows? But $6.2 billion is a major, major deal. Are you seeing how all of this is connected? Investment companies have shares in so many different companies saying that they want to force behaviors. We have recruiters within these industries taking people from other firms, letting you know what is beneficial to them, how they actually can enact these changes by actually buying politicians, making sure that the politician does their bidding, right? And then we also show how war is a major cash crop, because think of companies like Lockheed Martin. They're the ones who are selling and sending weapons to Ukraine. Everybody's making money here, and BlackRock is making money to rebuild Ukraine after everything's said and done. But the guy just said, what's good for business is for the, Ukraine-Russia war to keep going on. Right? Like, you really gotta think about it. Because it's really us who is trying to go to war with Russia, but we're using Ukraine as a proxy. Because this way, it's actually cheaper, but it's more expensive. It might look like a lot of money to us, but it's cheaper than actually going toe-to-toe with Russia. This way, no American lives are lost, but at the same time, World War III is a risk, potential risk. But just like our guy Sergey, he said this is a risk that they're willing to take. So what do you guys think about all this information so far? $1 million investment companies, they're letting you know war is good. They need war to profit. The Pentagon having $6.2 billion in, accounting errors. And we have independent media, exposing the truth. Let me know how you guys feel in the comments about this, because I find this very interesting. It's not surprising. It's just really common sense. But until you really look at life for what it is, it'll probably be hard to understand. So for me, just post some comments about how you feel about this. Make sure to hit the like and subscribe buttons, because it helps the YouTube algorithm. And also, if you like and support my channel, head over to youandiverse.co. We still have 720 Degrees of Ascension, the paperback and the ebook for sale. You can also purchase some merch. You can also listen to some of my latest music, watch some of my earlier episodes of Mental Gymnastics, as well as some of my music videos. I'll catch you guys on the next one. It's You and I Verse for a reason. Keep your eyes open, man. I'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace. Elevated when I get to the penthouse. On top and on my own, I feel like I'm Moses. Spiritual science, I'm devoted. I'm pulling your rank, you got demoted. I just want the money, I don't want the fame. It's You and I Verse.